Hi, welcome back to Wildcard FPL, your home for FPL content. And this week, after game week 3, the big news is Sterling, Maddison or Foden. We need to figure out who we're replacing. Is it going to be Mitoma? Is it going to be Martinelli? We're going to talk about all of that, and we're going to talk about what scores we got this week and what our plans are for the game week 4 deadline. So stick around, we're going to answer all your questions. Let's get right into it. Right, so ahead of game week 4, everyone's talking about Sterling after his stellar performance at the weekend, and also talking about is now the right time to bring Maddison in. We've got some decisions to make. Are these the right midfielders to target? Do they have the right fixtures? Fred, you were looking at Sterling last week. What do you think about this week? Is he on your roster?
Yeah, he's definitely of interest. I watched the Chelsea game and he was just a part of every attack they had and he looked really good. And I'm not really that much of a fan of Raheem Sterling over the years, but he just looks an incredible player. Also, it appears as though Poch is sort of leaning on him in every sense from a sort of leadership standpoint. Everything's to be going through him. He is like one of those natural leaders within the team. He's nailed. I think that he is going to be a really good asset for the next couple of games. They have Nottingham Forest at home, Bournemouth away, and I really like the look of him. So yes, to answer your question, I am interested and I am considering it.
The other alternatives to Sterling are Maddison and Foden. Steve, are you thinking of either of those two? Are you going to triple up on the Chelsea as well?
It's really difficult, right? I've been burned by Sterling before. Last season when I brought him in, he lasted about 35 to 40 seconds and then he was rocked for ages. I feel like that's happened before. I feel like every time I bring him in, he gets injured. I'm really wary about it. Right now, he's in my draft, but I've got this nagging feeling at the back of my head that just reminds me he's just one of those players that has let me down before. Yeah, he looked really great against Luton. But it's Luton. You know, with respect to Luton, this is their first time in the Premier League. So what happens when he plays a more established team? He could just have looked really fantastic against Luton.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, he's absolutely nailed. I think when we talk about Maddison and Foden, as we will do, he's absolutely nailed for minutes until something falls off of him. Which, if I bring him in, I'm sorry because it will happen, but maybe that's what I'll do. When you look at Foden, we know there's minutes risk. Maddison, I've got a bit of a small worry about his injury proneness. Sterling looks probably the most nailed out of those. So yeah, right now Sterling's in my draft. I've thought a lot about Maddison too. Everything goes through him. He looks a fantastic player. He drops deep, but he still makes these killer through balls. I think there was one through ball in particular caught my eye. Inside his own half, he rolled the defender, barely looked, played this lovely ball through to Son, defense splitting pass. Everything goes through him. It doesn't matter where he is on the pitch. He'll be involved somehow.
Yeah,
getting
absolutely.
into the box to finish as well. His goal is everywhere.
John, you've already got Foden. Are you thinking of any of the other two?
I mean, I had the same minutes risk worries, Pep roulette worries. I mean, he was sick this week. I've got so many other issues in my team that I think Foden's all right. I would love to have Maddison, just for Spurs reasons as much as FPL reasons. Slight worry about injuries. Is he carrying a couple of injuries already this early in the season? So yeah, I'm happy to stick with Foden. I think he'll be back in there when he's over his stomach troubles.
Yeah, this wasn't necessarily a case of Pep roulette this week, although it is definitely on the cards every week. Foden seemed to be out this week with a stomach bug, and it seems to be going through the City team. Akanji seems to have the same thing, so God knows who's going to be playing next week, Pep roulette or otherwise. It seems as though Foden is going to be in the minutes. Maddison and Sterling are both playing in cup matches, so before anybody makes any decisions, we need to figure out if they're both fit by the end of the week. But like you say, we're only going on 3 weeks worth of data, one of which Chelsea played Luton, and Sterling seems to have got all of his expected goals, assists and goal involvement from that one game. All of the other games, he didn't seem to be particularly active, whereas Maddison has had tougher fixtures and he's racked up very similar points to Sterling, similar expected goal involvement as well. So going forward, Chelsea have Nottingham Forest, Spurs have Burnley, and Man City have Fulham. So in that respect, where are we ranking the 3 players? Where would we put them in order of preference right now as things stand?
Sterling 1, Maddison 2, Foden 3.
Alf, what do you think?
I'd go with Sterling 1, Maddison 2, Foden 3.
And John, if you were in dream world of having free selection of your team, how would you rank them?
Yeah, I think I want Maddison in just for the fixtures, and I'm also not sold on Sterling yet. Foden's starting to feel like a minute's risk, the creeping dread of Pep roulette, so I'd get Maddison in. Also a little bit biased.
Yeah.
One thing we've seen from Pep is that I think he does quite like Phil Foden, but I've got a feeling we might just see Phil Foden just in the Champions League. And that could be something that starts to creep in. They're buying some players as well. I think they're on the cards to buy Nunes of Wolves, who plays in the central midfield. You know, earlier in the season we were looking at the teams and we were thinking, City look a bit light. That probably means Foden will play a lot. And all of a sudden, Pep is restocking the shelves, and Foden's minutes are just going down and down and down. That's the way I see it. He's still a fantastic player. Look, Pep knows that he can just bring him off the bench and he can do something. That's great for the Premier League. Is it great for Fantasy Premier League? Who knows? It worked at the weekend. Foden came off the bench, got an assist, but is that good enough? And especially if he's not able to do it every week, that's the thing that concerns me. One thing I've heard a lot about today as well is Sterling and just his goal involvement, as in scoring goals rather than just assists. And Foden is probably more of a creator and assist maker. Maddison and Sterling seem to have more opportunity to score goals. Foden's job is to get the ball to somebody who can score.
So in terms of long-term or longer-term transfer plans this week, Steve, have you got something in mind for those players? Are you bringing in one or two of them? Who are you getting rid of to make room?
I've got 2 free transfers. I'm probably going to use both of them. I've got a guy called Gabriel. I don't know if anyone remembers him. If you think way back to last season, he was a guy that played for Arsenal in the defence. I think it was. I think he was a centre back way back, and he was pretty good. But since then, I don't know what he's done. He's accidentally kicked Arteta in the clackers or something. I don't know what he's done, but he is out of favour. So Gabriel's got to go. I think a lot of people were holding him one more game week to see what happened, once they got injury and the red card. The guy that played there, Kirill, never heard of him. If he starts playing people that I've never heard of instead of Gabriel, then we want rid of him. So Gabriel's out, and one of Gusto or Udogie will come in. And for me, the other one is Martinelli is out. Martinelli looks good, but just not as good as Sterling, Maddison or Foden. So it'll be one of those 3. Right now it's going to be Sterling, and it'll be in for Martinelli. And I'm always trying to think about not just next week, but the next few weeks, and that's probably the best way of playing the game. I think we're too early in the season for our 1 week punts just yet. So I'm looking towards sort of like game weeks 4 to 7, 4 to 8, and bringing in Sterling for Martinelli and bringing in Udogie probably for Gabriel makes sense. It also gives me a ton of cash in the bank, so I can do pretty much whatever I want for the rest of those transfer windows too.
Yeah. Alf, what are you thinking? Are you thinking something along the same lines?
Yeah, I am, but I think I found that I get a little bit further if I just kind of take a breath and not do all the things that people are doing. So I am actually considering just leaving my midfield as it is. Like, Martinelli hasn't slapped yet, and I feel like he's about to. My take is that I'd be more annoyed if I transferred him out and then he slapped versus missing out on Sterling or Maddison points. So I think it could go either way. At this point, I'm thinking perhaps like focus on a goalkeeper transfer or a defender transfer and leave the midfield as it is. But having said that, close to the deadline, I think I might just get one of those 2 in. So Sterling, Maddison definitely on the radar, and I think I probably would do either of them for Martinelli, or I could do both. I do have 2 free transfers. I could do Rashford for Maddison, Sterling for Martinelli. But right now, I think it might just be a good move for me to focus on something else and just see how it rides out.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
One thing to remember as well is that it's crazy how many people keep making really early transfers. We've got cup games on Tuesday and Wednesday. 700,000 people have transferred in Raheem Sterling, and that just seems bananas to me, because you've got this cup game to get through. He comes on, in whatever minute, let's say they're winning 3-0, he comes on the 85th minute just to sort of see the game out, does his ACL. Suddenly 700,000 people are absolutely pulling their hair out. It just makes sense. Just wait until the deadline. Just cool your boots and wait until the deadline, closer to the deadline, before you do anything. And especially wait for those press conferences, wait for any news and leaks, and wait for any injuries, because football's unpredictable. Just give yourself as much chance as you can to make the right decision. There's so much that can happen in between. We've seen stuff like this happen before. Just bide your time and wait closer to that deadline.
Yeah, I feel like you're talking directly to me there, Steve, because every week so far I've done an early transfer thinking I'm going to make those cash in the bank gains, and every week so far it's come back to haunt me. So I am going to wait this week. I am thinking the same sort of thing as you two, although I'm looking at a potential sale of Mitoma for either Sterling or Maddison. Not that I don't think that Mitoma can score goals in his tough fixtures. I think he probably can. The likelihood of him getting big returns against Newcastle, Man United and Aston Villa in 3 or 4 weeks is lower than somebody like Sterling with his nice easy run of fixtures. And at the moment, it's looking a little bit like Brighton are having a tough time of it. They're letting goals in. Mitoma is playing well, but maybe this is just a good period where I can sub him out and bring him back later. John, you're thinking something slightly different this week. As things stand, you've got a few problems to sort out. What are your sort of thoughts going into game week 4?
Yeah, in general, I've got a steal issue with that tough run of fixtures. Also potentially a new keeper incoming for Palace. So I've got a Johnston issue, so really want a new keeper. Shaw is injured. Botman's got a Dorito. Not quite sure what the issue is with him. Haven't had a look. So yeah, potentially need 2 defenders and a new keeper. Potentially 2 keepers. I'm going to have to start looking at the most pertinent moves to make. I'm not going to be able to build up a mini wild card anytime soon. I think my feeling is that I've just got to start slogging through some transfers week by week, but there will be an order that makes sense. I just haven't decided.
John,
which.
Are we right in saying that we've been able to talk you? I think Alfred and I have talked you off the ledge of the wild card.
Yeah. I think surely goes through every manager's mind after a fairly disastrous low point scoring, injury accruing game week. They're just like, I'll just wildcard in my dream team and I'll be scoring 90 points before I know it. So yeah, I think, I'm like still top 500,000. I have plenty of good players. I've got Haaland, Alvarez, Wissa, Mbomo, Rashford, Foden, Saka, Chilwell. Great. That's handy position to be in. Saliba's, seems to be nailed on for Arsenal. Estupinan, again, tough set of fixtures for Brighton. I would have been looking to bring in one of my substitute defenders, which I can't now do. So I think a nailed-on defender with an easy run of fixtures who's assisting and scoring as well is the kind of highest on my shopping list.
That leads us nicely on to Udogie and Gusto. There's a lot of people talking about Gusto from Chelsea. I'm not hugely convinced, especially having Chilwell and Jackson at the moment. It doesn't make sense for me to bring in the extra defender and block the Sterling transfer. But if people are looking for a new defender, which of those two look the best right now? Alf, have you got an opinion on the defenders?
So Gusto is obviously, I think he's 4.1 million now. He's going to go up in price again. I think I heard that earlier today to 4.2. Udogie is going to be 4.6 now. I suspect he also might go up in price. But for me, I think it is really a coin flip. Gusto, the risk obviously is the fact that James is actually expected back game week 5. Now, I think that there is still, even with James coming back, I think there is still an opportunity there because you can just bench him. You can save 0.5 mil and then wait for James to get injured again, which inevitably will be the case. Unfortunately, shame for Reece James. But I really like him. Like, again, I saw that game the other night and he just looks incredible on the wing. He was essentially playing as like a right winger, full of confidence. Like it was his Chelsea debut at home and he smashed it. Like, he got an incredible score. So I can understand why people are going for him. Having said that, Udogie, he looks incredible as well. I think he's nailed, perhaps a bit more of a better pick long term. I think it depends on balance. If you do have 2 Chelsea players and you don't have any Spurs players, perhaps going for Udogie is the way to go and vice versa. So I think it is a toss-up for me.
For me, I like Gusto. Another thing that players may not be fully aware of is that Game Week 4 is happening this Friday. Game Week 5 doesn't happen until at the middle of September. In that time, Chelsea expect that Reece James will get back to fitness. I don't know that he's just going to walk straight back into that side, to be honest.
Right.
Gusto, if he puts another performance in like he did the other night versus Luton against Nottingham Forest, then surely he has to be considered to be worthy of another chance by Poch. But having said that, it's Reece James. Reece James is an excellent player. It's a shame he's had so many injuries. I think for me right now, I'm just looking more at Udogie. I really like his fixtures as well. There are only 2 points between them this week. I think Gusto got 14 and Udogie got 12. It's not a lot in it. He is a bit more expensive, 4.6, but most people have that cash in the bank. And actually, it's kind of like you're getting a bit more money back, which lets you move stuff around. So the 4.2 versus the 4.6 isn't really a problem. Another player people might have in the mix is Matty Cash. He scored 2 great goals at the weekend, scored huge points. I wouldn't look at him just yet. I'm personally going to wait before I get any Villa players until game week 8, game week 9. They have a bit of a fixture swing. That's when I'm going to be looking at getting some Villa assets in, the likes of Watkins, Diaby especially, and also Matty Cash from a defensive point of view. He's 4.6. So for me, I think Al's right. I think Gusto is probably someone that will be around a little bit longer past game week 5, game week 6. But I'm looking to build for 4 to 9 when I'm probably intending on wildcarding. Game Week 9 is what I'm looking for next, and I think Udogie fits the bill on that.
Absolutely. Let's talk about our scores, how we did for this game week, and then we can spend some more time thinking before we go ahead and press confirm on our transfers. John, what did you get this week? What happened? Talk us through it.
Yeah, this week 43, crashing back down to earth. Bit disappointed to only get 1 point from Saliba. Elsewhere though, I was kind of where did I miss out on all these points? But Brentford, Bremer and Wissa, I went for 2 points each. The only other option I had in midfield was Richarlison, who got absolutely nothing. He came on and got a yellow card and was subbed off. Yeah, Rashford scoring, Saka scoring, Foden coming on late and getting an assist saved me, otherwise that would have been a 0. Haaland could have scored more, missed a penalty. Alvarez, nothing. Lots of nothings everywhere. Chilwell delivering the goods. That was a good transfer, so happy with that. And then the keepers, Steele on 0, Johnson 2 as well. So that was me. Not a complete disaster, certainly not 34, but pretty good.
Savage. I ended only slightly better than John this week because of my keeper situation. Turner came on for Steele, who didn't play, and got 3 just for the sheer amount of saves he was making in the game. Saliba didn't do much in the defence department, and neither did Estupinan. Rashford, this was where my weekend started to break down. I decided to get rid of Bruno. Rashford had a great game, a couple of assists. I swapped Bruno for Foden, who had a brown Dorito for the weekend, and the rest of my midfield didn't put out the goods. Jackson did start delivering for Chelsea, which was very nice. Finally, it was a touchy game for Jackson. Sterling seemed to be getting everything, and finally Jackson poked one home towards the end, which I was very pleased to see. Haaland, I was looking at a solid -2 for Haaland for a while, but he came back with the goods as well. 48, I did get a green arrow this week, so better than last week. We'll just try and make more sensible decisions, wait a few more days this week, and then we'll see what happens next time. Alf, how did you do?
Yeah, so 52 points all in, which I'm pretty happy with. Overall rank being just under 260k. So I'm in a pretty good little spot at the moment. From a kind of player standpoint, Onana was really disappointing. No one was expecting United to concede 2 goals, and I think Onana had a bit of a shocker as well, which is annoying. I've backed him from before he arrived at United. I think he will become good, but a bit of a rough game for him. Defense a little bit disappointing. Estupinan didn't do much and conceded a great deal. 3-1 West Ham in the end. Chilwell had a nice little game, kind of expected. Saliba 1 point. I just got to say, what an absolutely crazy day that was. The 3 o'clock kickoff, I was at the Emirates. Fulham just scored, and I had the TalkSport in my ear, and it was like Man United are 2-0 down, and I was just beside myself as what was going on. Really hard game for both Arsenal and United. I've got 6 players from both of those teams in my team, so a little bit tough. Martinelli is a concern, 100%, but again, to my point earlier, I just think he might be about to do some things. Jesus is coming back. I think he's going to start in the next game. I know that's quite a big deal for Martinelli. They kind of swap with each other and it seems to work. So maybe the kind of Brazilian connection. So I want to see how Martinelli does in the next game. I know it's against United, Steve. So, there's a part of me that doesn't want him to do well for your sake. And then Bruno, incredible. Really happy with him. Not really much to say, but getting a pen, that's what we have him in our teams for. So really happy about that. Glad I held him. Same with Rashford. I think he'll start playing on the left now. So excited about him going forward. Mbomo, loads of people got him in and then he blanked. That's a shame. I've had him from the beginning. Really disappointing game from him. I think he will continue to do good though. Saka is back on pens, which is massive relief. Odegaard had the ball in his hand and I was kind of like, oh, well, there he is. And I think I texted everyone saying, Odegaard's taking the pen. But then Saka came out of nowhere and took it off his hands and I was like, thank the Lord for that. So very excited about Saka being back on pens. Massive relief, because if Odegaard did take that pen, I would be very tempted to get rid of Saka. And then Ollie Watkins, 15 points in 3 games. Consistency, that's what you want. And he's got some really good fixtures coming up. I actually really fancy him against Liverpool now that VVD's been suspended. I think that their defence is in absolute ruins and I can see Watkins getting a couple of goals, to be honest. So excited about that. Haaland captain. Overall, good score, happy with it, and we move to the next week.
Very well done. Steve Pinion, what was the total you came up with in the end?
I went from 0 to hero because I'm on 55, having clocked in 34 last week, which we're all pretty certain will be a season low for Wildcard FPL. So maybe I'll get a t-shirt or something at the end of the season. Like Alfred, I've got Onana in goal. Unlike Alfred, I actually thought, as a United fan, Onana might struggle. I was right, but not right enough to not have him in my team, which is really annoying. I basically called it. I got it absolutely spot on. I said he would struggle. He has struggled. It's not all his fault because there are some big gaps in front of him. The defence is really trying to put out fires. I don't know what's going on with Man United. I was on a run when that game kicked off and my watch just went crazy and saying it was 2-0 and I just had to mute it because otherwise I would not be able to run consistently well. I'd probably just end up sprinting and shouting at things. So I've been a United fan for a long time. If there is ever a team that can come back from 2-0 down and win 3-2, it's definitely them. We said last week, hold on to Rashford and Bruno. Hold on just one more week. And we were right to do that. And I think we feel vindicated in that. Bruno's numbers, if you exclude penalties, he has the best expected goal points out of anyone. So he is incredibly in form. He's in great form. It just wasn't happening. Not new to Man United. They don't score a lot of goals. They need a striker. Fortunately, they've got a striker. Hopefully he's going to start against Arsenal. That's what this week I'm definitely going to keep Bruno and Rashford. I think they're going to be good. Saka, great, like Alfred was saying. Martinelli struggled. I'm not convinced that Jesus coming, but I'm different to Alfred. I'm not convinced that Jesus coming in will solve that Martinelli issue. I think it actually makes more problems for Martinelli because Arteta's got more players to fit in his team with Trossard and some of the others that he's got in. Could create some minutes risks. Jackson, my goodness, he left it late. He made us all worry. All the people that swapped out Pedro, I feel really happy to have him in the team. Eze, he just clocked in those 2 pointers for me. Bit of a gamble to have him instead of Mbemo, but I'm not going to get rid of Eze. I'm going to hold him. I think he's just about to come into some good fixtures. He's got Wolves at home. I'm going to give it another week. We'll see how we get on. And then, yeah, my defensive, Henry, whom I like, didn't have a great game, but I still like him. Estepinan's got some tough fixtures coming up. There's a question mark over whether it's time to get rid of him or not, but he'll stay for next week. And Chilwell, I don't know if anyone saw the gif going around of Chilwell in that game. I just cannot work out why he didn't shoot.
Yeah, it was mad.
At that moment, I was about to cheer a Chelsea goal. I was watching on my phone. I just couldn't believe what I watched. All the Chilwell owners just holding their head in their hand. It just, the goal at his mercy, and he somehow seemed to he wanted to square it. I don't know what he was doing, but look, he got his clean sheet, so I'm happy with him. Yeah, I think Martinelli's the only one I'm going to get rid of, I think, out of that lot. But yeah, really happy with the team this week. I think I gained about 1.4 million places, which is exactly the sort of thing that happens at this stage of the FPL. You score a couple more points than someone, and yeah, you find yourself climbing 1 million places. So yeah, keep that in mind. Don't be too concerned about your rank right now. Just keep on making those good decisions.
So that's how we did this week. Obviously, time will tell with what transfers we make as news comes in from the cup games. But if you enjoyed this video, leave us a subscribe. We're on the way to 100 subscribers, which we're all very pleased about. We're growing at a rapid pace. So thank you everyone who's tuned in so far, and we'll see you in the next video. Cheers.